issues in San Francisco, LA, etc. So we have very specific issues, and I want to hear from you all as much as possible about what you want to come together to learn and challenge and take on. So we do have a spreadsheet. Today we have our hub here in Jackson. We have Alpine County participating in Marleyville. Hello, Alpine County. And in a moment, we'll make sure that there they are. We'll have introductions so they can meet you and you can meet them. And then we have our online participants who are just participating on their computer at home. So welcome, online participants. We can't see them, but hopefully they can see and hear us. So in your packets, you have a handout number 2, which is a topic ranking handout. So we're embarking next year on a new round of learning communities. And I really want to hear from you. What are you interested in?
It's not on here, and I've talked to you before about it.
Wait. They can't hear you. You know about that.
A while ago online, there was, and I want to do one, so it was trauma for natural disasters, floodwater, earthquakes, fire, and I would really like to see that come up.
Well, add it on, because in your handout, there's I listed a number of topics that have come to the top through different polls that I've done, SurveyMonkey polls, from the evaluations that folks have done over the last year where they put different topics on. But now I'd really like to sort of have you folks look at those topics, rank them, and then add your own topic. So if you have something else that you'd like to see, put it on the list, and then my next step will be to send out a SurveyMonkey poll probably mid-July to get to hear from you about, and you as well as everybody else. At this point, I have over almost 140 people on a mailing list just from our learning communities over the last year. So I want to hear back from you guys about what it is you'd like to see us focus on in the next year. And we could go deeper on some topics. We could have a series. We could talk about natural disasters, resilience, community resilience. And because of our funding through OCAP, we have available mini grant dollars where I can bring in speakers. So if you have a speaker that you'd like to suggest, please do. I follow up on all of those suggestions to the best of my ability. So if there's anybody, and I'm happy to do it today, but anytime you want to email me, please feel free to. If something comes up and you think, this would make a great topic, this is a great speaker, let me know. I really want this to be your learning community so that I just am the catalyst, but you folks, and that includes Alpine and my online community, are the people that are really directing what we talk about, okay? And hopefully take it over so that if I were to disappear, you would still have a regional identity. That's really our vision and goal for this project. But these are the areas that go to the top. And this year we have focused a lot on ACEs. And today I really feel like hopefully we'll bring together a lot of the ACEs collaboration efforts that we might have underway, because every county is doing something right now in our region, ACEs related. I saw Judy Knapp was up in Nevada County doing training. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and it's a focus. And we can continue on that. There's much, much more to learn. But I just want to share that there's many, many different topics, and I'm open to all those for our next year. And our environment today, as always, we're going to start and end on time. I did change the agenda a little bit, which is in your packet, so that we're going to end at 1:30 today rather than our typical 2:30. We had a smaller group, so I felt that if we broke for lunch, I was concerned people would not come back. So this way I've got you as a captive audience. Hopefully I can knock you down if you try to get out the door. And we will have some heavy snacks for you so that you can make it through to 1:30 without being too hungry. We want to make sure you participate. One of the challenges with having the online is I do need you, if you have a question or a comment, just wait and let us run over with the mic. because the only way our folks in Alpine and our online community can hear you is if we use the microphone, okay? Limit your sidebar conversations as much as possible. I know you guys love to get together, and that's wonderful, but we'll have time for chatting. And then just silence your cell phones and electronics. Did folks get my email about bringing a laptop today? So we'll see how that works. I know Alpine was concerned about bandwidth. You know, everybody's trying to get on the internet. That could be an issue. We might say, well, we're not going to do that. But our hope is that you can actually follow along with our speakers, Gail and Tracy, when they're talking about the ACES Connection website and hands-on music. And then practice self-care. This should be a day for fun and enjoyment, and I hope that it's that for you guys. Today, our objective is we want to get a shared, oops, this baby's really killing it. We want to get a shared understanding of the ACES Connection online platform. I'm dying. I use it myself. I work in the CASA program in South Lake Tahoe. I'm their trainer in our little office in South Lake. And I share this all the time with my CASAs because I think what a great resource for them. They can learn about trauma-informed care, resilience. I give them continuing ed credit if they go on the website and sign up and such. So I'm really hoping to get a good understanding as well. But we also want to think about how we can use it as a region, and also each county can use the ACES Connection to better collaborate. We want to have you guys exchange ideas. Judy, I know that El Dorado County is using the ACES Connection. I'm a member of the collaborative there in El Dorado County, and they have some challenges with getting information, getting people to use it. Just like everything else, we have a lot of tools, but they're only as good as we use them. And then during our lunchtime session, we're going to take some time to think about how we can, what next steps we can identify here to utilize locally to get this ACES connection to help us better connect. Hence the connection. And your agenda is handout number 3. I'm doing the welcome. Then we have lovely Gail Kennedy and Tracy Fauver to talk about ACES connection, and Tracy's going to speak to us about how Yolo County has used ACES connection. Then we're going to have our fuel break, and we'll have some snacks brought in, some heavy snacks that will help you. And then after lunch, we have a lunch session. We're going to talk about this question: how can we use the ACES Connection website to develop a virtual hub or FRC, Family Resource Center, in your community? Because I think it has a lot of potential for that. And then we're going to report out so we can learn from each other. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
For those that have
oh, wait.
This is for this room. Oh, but if you have your laptop and you want to get Wi-Fi, we have, it's not a very easy password.
I'm going to put, this is for our folks here in the hub. I'm putting the internet wireless key up for our folks here in the hub.
I made it on there.
Okay. And bathrooms are open. Sometimes we have to use the men's room, but today everybody can use either bathroom. The children are on break. They're on vacation for the lunchrooms. Oh, and thank you. I just want to take a moment. I always neglect my wonderful host and hostesses, Tracy, for your help here and giving us this wonderful facility for free, which enables us to provide you with these programs at no cost. All right, so let's move into introductions. So do you want to start in the room here? Okay. So we're going to start with Jackson, and we'll just very briefly do our name, county, and what agency we represent. And we're going to turn the camera so that our online participants can see you, and they're going to use the mic so that they can hear you.
You're on camera.
And then we'll wait for Alpine to show us this out. We'll start with
Calaveras County. Carol Smith, Calaveras Health and Human Services, Substance Abuse Programs.
And Montana County Social Services.
You don't speak up all that, so you can read in this room.
Tammy Montgomery, student at college there.
Tracy Carlton, Child Youth Parenting Council, and First Life.
Vanessa Constant, program meeting for all.
Yolo Serpini, next to the Banner Services. I'm Judy Sherman. I'm a consultant working with strategies to support these learning communities across the state.
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Saad, and I'm with the Office of Child Abuse Prevention.
Stephanie Ellis, next to Student and Family Services.
Naomi Peterson, Amador CASA.
Farrell Roberts, Congress.
Hello, Jackie Machado, grandparent.
Yay! Best job ever.
Michelle Correa, I'm a peer program specialist.
Judy Knapp, El Dorado County Prevention Works.
Joyce Peak, First Life Calaveras.
Hello, I'm Tracy Fauver with Yolo County CASA and Brazil Yolo. And I'm Gail Kennedy, and I'm with ACES Connection, and I'm a member of Brazilian Yolo.
Hi, my name is Shane Reserve. I'm a training and consulting specialist with Strategies 3.0, and today I'm a roadie.
That's right.
Oh. We have a lot of cords and wires. Okay, it's still working great. So I think we're going to go to Alpine County now and have them introduce.
Good morning, I'm Chanel Morales, a fiscal and technical with Alpine County. Dr. Johnson will be joining us again, but he was called away. Doctors get called away by phone calls.
I'm Brianna Neven. I'm an Alpine advocate for Live Violence Free, based in South Lake Tahoe. Has a satellite office down here addressing domestic violence and sexual assault.
That's all of us.
Well, that's a small but mighty group. Thank you for coming and joining us. Okay, so what's the next? And our online people, hello. We're still trying to figure out a way we can have them introduce themselves, but someday we'll figure that out. We'll get to that. You're our next challenge. One of the areas that we really want to address when we talk in these learning communities are these practice methods. And I know I've discussed this with you all before, but I just want to remind you again, in your packets, handout number 4 is from Vehicles for Change. And if you haven't had a chance to download the Vehicles for Change monograph, has everybody seen this? Can you put up your hand if you have? Good, all right, that's pretty. If you have not, the link to download it is on the handout. But it's a very useful way for us to organize our work and think about how we can be more effective in what we're trying to do. Because a lot of times when we're working in our field, and I know for us in South Lake Tahoe, we can feel kind of isolated. But when we think about these practice methods and we think about what are we trying to achieve as a program, it helps for me to kind of organize my thinking. And I hope it's helpful for you as well. So as we talk about the ACES Connection website, and we think about where is our focus, oops, I didn't even touch it. As we think about where is our focus, think about what area are you trying to really address? Where are you trying to impact families? Are you looking at individual services to children? Yes. Is it on now? Okay, sorry about that. It's probably think about, are you trying to impact services to individual children and families? Because many of us are. And if you think about ACES Connection, how would ACES Connection help those individual children and families?
Oh, I think it's a lot clearer right now with my
Oh. Sorry about that, folks. That was the, I think it was a battery issue. So if you're trying to address this, if you're thinking about ACES Connection, I think about it as how can we create a scenario where families are going on and using this ACES connection as a way to find out about what's happening in their community, to learn about services that are available, and maybe if you go to the next piece, growth and development activities, how are they trying to, how can folks, both individuals and families, as well as our staff, in my case, CASAs that I work with, volunteers, how can they use ACES Connection to educate themselves, to learn about what's going on in the field? You know, those to me are very concrete areas that we can utilize ACES Connection to me more easily, kind of the low-hanging fruit. But then when we get to the next areas, this is where I think it can really become a powerful tool, thinking about civic engagement. How can we use ACES Connection to bring people together so that they look at this as a way to organize themselves, find out about what's happening in their community, find out about possibly, if you go to the next thing, leveraging resources, find out about meetings that are happening locally, supervisors meetings, where people are going to be talking about funding for services, where people are going to be talking about how to address adverse childhood experiences in their community. So if you think about it, it's a way to organize how do you want to use ACES Connection. For me, again, I look at it, I work on a volunteer level. I work individually with volunteers that work for children and families. But I do hope that we can talk today a little bit about how we can get to those levels 3 and 4. And to get us to those levels 3 and 4, we are going to have now Gail Kennedy and Tracy Fauver, who are going to talk to us about ACES Connection. And I assume we have 2, okay. I'm introducing our speakers and we have 2 mics. Is it working? So remember, you have to come in here into the blue circle up there, and then that's where you use it. And who wants? And now,
while Gail gets set up with her microphone, we're going to do just a brief little meditation. This is the way we start every Resilient Yolo meeting. It's a way of kind of walking the walk and talking the talk. And we've begun to start a lot of other community meetings in Yolo County with just a real brief meditation. I just happened to find on YouTube yesterday a really cool animation video that talks about how mindfulness is the new superpower. And that's very, very true the way it relates to ACES. And I was doing this work for quite a while before I had this aha moment that being mindful is how you get from the brain in fight or flight mode to the prefrontal cortex, to that place where you can recognize what's happening in the body and use the rational thinking part of your brain to find the most appropriate response in that moment. And so mindfulness is really and truly a superpower and something we can all develop and help others to develop. So Gail's going to lead us through a meditation that will help us practice mindfulness.
I just want to test and be sure this is working. Shane, is that okay? Okay. I'm going to just stand right here. Hi, everybody. This is just going to be a few minutes. We don't have a long time for this, but I want to, because as Tracy said, we like to start our meetings, all meetings this way. So if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you would rather just look down, have your gaze faced down a little bit so that you are finding a place a little in front of you to focus on. And let's just come into our bodies. Let's just feel our bodies, where we are in our chairs, where we are in the room. You might feel if there's a cool breeze or if there's a warm breeze. There's no breeze. You can feel yourself. Feel your legs and your feet on the ground, your legs in the chair, the rest of your back. If you're sitting up against the back of the chair, just feel your body. Now, feel your breath. Breath is always with you. It does so much for us. It's always there for us. Give yourself a little attention to the breath. See if it's a little shallow. You might want to take a couple deep breaths. Just kind of observe where your breath is in your body. Take a couple more breaths and feel when you're inhaling, if you feel it going in through your nostrils, or if you might feel it in your chest when you are inhaling, feeling the breath expand your chest a bit. Or you might feel it down in your belly. If you feel comfortable and you want to, you can actually put your hands on your belly and see if you can feel your belly move when you're breathing in and breathing out. Now, I just want you to take a few more breaths and feel the breath and how it's moving through your body. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Just observe it. Now, find your feet. Find how your feet feel against the floor, against your shoes. Find yourself in that chair again. Feel the air on the ground. Take a couple more breaths. Now, if your eyes are closed, open them again. Come back into the room. And now we're ready to begin. Thank you. Okay, so you're welcome. So now that we're centered in here, partly what we like to do when we do that is make sure, because oftentimes we're rushing from meeting to meeting, or we just had another phone call. Now we're all here, including us. And so what we're going to do today is, I think, next slide. This is just going to be a little, what we're going to do is Tracy's going to talk about our resilient Yolo story. So she'll tell a little history of how we got started and some of the work that's happening in Yolo County right now. And then I'm going to come and do a walkabout on ACES Connection. And Carrie and I are going to I'll have some slides, but I want to go live to the site and then show folks kind of how to manage it, how to maneuver it, how to get the best out of it. So resources and tools that are available, and as well as kind of what you can find on the site, and then we'll talk about what different counties can create on the site. And we'll use Resilient Yolo, we'll use Yolo County's site to talk through that. So Tracy's here to actually have firsthand experience and be able to talk to how Yolo County is using the ACES Connection site. And then we'll kind of end it with and it ties in perfectly with what Barbara said. What we'll do is, for those that are interested in moving forward with getting a site on ACES Connection, then what we can do is talk about what next steps are. Okay? So, are we good? The sound is good. We've got everything. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracy.
Okay. My picture's up there. You can see what it gets to look like when you have a professional taking pictures of it. So I just want to have my phone just in case, checking some time. Yes, thank you very much, Barbara. So the story of Resilient Yolo and how we started goes back about 5 years. And it, I think I can say this safely, ironically enough, started with our probation department in Yolo County. I see you smile. We had some very, very forward-thinking folks in our probation department, and they applied for a really big grant with the Sierra Health Foundation, which is a very well-known and well-respected funder, I think throughout California, really, probably in this area as well. Sierra Health Foundation had put out this request for proposals for a positive youth justice initiative. And they wanted counties to come up with a program of, very high levels of collaboration. I believe trauma-informed practice was actually part of the criteria. It was certainly a major piece of the work that our Yolo County Probation Office wanted to do in applying for that grant. We were one of 10 counties selected in the state to get 1 year of kind of startup and prepare a multi-year proposal and action plan. And after that 1 year of startup funds, Sierra Health Foundation selected 6 counties that would get multi-year funding to enact the initiatives they'd come up with in their local region. So I'm with the CASA office. We deal with children in the dependency system, but there's definitely some overlap. And so the woman in our probation office, Shonda Cruz, who was heading up this effort, reached out to me and said, hey, we'd like CASA to get involved in this collaborative. I started to participate, and through that, we were connected with a webinar that ACES Connection Network was doing. You had to sign up on the site, become a member of the site in order to participate in the webinar, and that was one of my first aha moments, learning about ACEs, trauma-informed practices, and how that can be so foundational to the work that we do with children and families, particularly in our communities. So I did that webinar, and I got a welcome greeting from Jane Stevens, who's the publisher, founder, editor of ACES Connection Network. Gail Kennedy works for Jane Stevens, and in her greeting email, Jane said, I noticed that it listed her home address as Winters, California, which is in Yolo County. So I immediately wrote back and I said, Jane, you're in Yolo County. Do you know what's happening here? And she had no idea. So we met for coffee, talked about the Positive Youth Justice Initiative. At the end of that year of funding, Sierra Health Foundation was evaluating the 10 proposals. Yolo County was not chosen because they said we were so far along, they thought we were going to get there anyways, even without their funding. Punished. Yeah, really and truly. And guess what that did to the collaborative? I mean, we had meetings with higher ups from 30 different agencies, stakeholders all across the community, meeting on a monthly basis. It was huge. It was powerful. We were energized, and all of a sudden, everything just went flat, completely flat. So there was a small group of us who were just, incredibly committed to this idea of bringing trauma-informed practices to how we dealt with youth in our delinquency and dependency systems, how we dealt with the families who were interacting with those systems, and obviously more broadly, because this isn't just an issue for those youth, it's an issue for the whole community. So we got together, we met with Jane, we started our site on the ACES Connection Network, and one of the first things we did, I remember it was shortly thereafter that the movie Paper Tigers came out, and there was a consensus in our room in this collaborative of, we have folks from child welfare, from CASA, from hospitals, from the education field, and community members. And we said, I think we should focus on education. Paper Tigers came out. So one of the first things we did was we created an event around showing Paper Tigers in 3 different locations around Yolo County. Everybody pitched in to help promote and market that event. And we got a really broad swath of community members and leadership who came and saw that movie. And then we focused on helping wherever we could find champions, but particularly in the education realm, helping them reach contacts or make contacts with folks who could support their work. We do have an alternative high school in Davis, California that has gone 100% trauma informed. We have a lot of other schools in Yolo County that have implemented a number of trauma-informed resilient building practices and the way they do things. And that really helped kind of motivate and energize us. At this point, we've done 2 countywide summits, 2 annual countywide summits, and we've started planning for our 3rd on October 30th of this year. We call it the Building a Resilient Yolo Summit. But the ACES Connection Network has been an integral piece of how we communicate with our different partners, having a place to tell people when we give training or information. You can go here. This is where you're always going to find when the next meeting is. Our Resilient Yolo Collaborative meets monthly. We've experimented with every different type of way that you can organize. We've had a steering committee. Sometimes we vote on things, sometimes we don't. We've had different people trying to manage or lead. But one of the things I'm most proud of about Resilient Yolo is that we are 100% an unfunded collaborative. And we have put summits together, we have put events together like Paper Tigers, and we've shown resilience. We are out in the community doing trainings, and you'll get a chance to see on our tracker map just some of the trainings that we've done. We've done more than are actually tracked, myself included. But we have had an impact on our community, and we have leadership that is really listening to what we're saying. Our Yolo County Office of Education has been a really strong partner with us for the last 2.5, 3 years. And Garth Lewis was instrumental in helping us with that collaborative, helping us to organize our summits. And he was just elected superintendent of our county office of education. So we've been this mid-level group of folks from many different agencies who get together once a month and say, how do we get this information out there? We want to reach everyone in the community. We want to reach families. We want to reach schools. But we also want to reach our leadership, so our board of supervisors can start making funding decisions and planning decisions and strategic planning around efforts that are building resilience in our community. And we're, it's sometimes we move really fast and feel great about what we're doing, and sometimes we feel like, what is happening? And we've lost all of our momentum. But what's wonderful is when other communities like this, or like all of you, the communities that you represent, are coming together, are learning and doing. We learn from you. We hope that you can learn some things from us. And we are all really creating momentum together. And so that's what's so exciting about being here today, seeing all of you and the potential that what we're doing holds for the future of our communities. Good?
Yep. My background.
Enter the blue circle, Gail.
Can I just share? I'm going to share one more story about what I think is huge impact from the work that Resilient Yolo has done. We had a very heavily populated city council in Davis. There were city council races. There were 7, 8 people running for 2 open slots. And 3 different candidates at some point reached out to one of us from Resilient Yolo and said, I've heard about this Resilient Yolo. I think I need to know what that is. I want to learn about it. And we were like, yay. And at least one of them, actually, she will be the mayor next year. She got the most votes, so she will be the mayor. And actually, I was at a farmer's market where the city council that are actually active city council members, and they all were throwing around like, oh yeah, trauma-informed. They may not really know what it means, but they know they need to throw the words around, which is great. That's getting there. Okay, so I now am going to shift to talking about ACES Connection. Just a little caveat. Tracy mentioned ACES Connection Network. We were named ACES Connection Network, and we found that everybody called us ACES Connection. And so we just said, forget it. We're dropping the network, so we're ACES Connection. But it doesn't matter if you want to call us ACES Connection Network, we're totally happy with that.
When did that happen? Last week?
Yeah, just a few weeks ago, we decided simplify. So a lot of people just call it ACES, which really isn't, like that's shortening a little too much. We're ACES Connection, and the connection is important, which you will see in a minute. I just want to see a show of hands in the room, and then if we can look at our remote site, how many people are, actually before sending you and asking you to join, but how many people had been members of ACES Connection? I know Judy is. Oh, that's great. And then, can I see any hands over there? Anybody? Oh, okay, good. So we've got a few people that knew about it before Barb sent the note out, and now how many people have signed up when she sent? Okay, so we're about half. That's fine. Nobody's listening to me. I promise she didn't ask me to do this. What we'll do is hopefully we'll get you signed up today, and if I can do a little magic and I can behind the scenes accept you in today. But even if you aren't signed in yet, we can still show you a lot of what is available for you. And then what Carrie and I will do is I've signed in onto her computer, so I will show you what you get once you sign in, because there's a little more behind the sign in. And signing in is free and relatively easy. It just takes a couple minutes. So first, let me tell you about ACES Connection. We are a community of practice supporting the acceleration of ACES science. We're a social network. So my kind of flippant way I describe ACES Connection is where the Facebook meets Wikipedia meets Library of Congress of the ACES movement. So kind of all of that. And hopefully, by the time we get through the slides, you'll see what I mean by all of that. So before I go, so we're very lucky to be funded by the California Endowment and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. So we started in California. We first had funding from the California Endowment, and with just a little bit of money from the Robert Wood Johnson, and then they watched what we had been doing in California and things like this, and they were like, we want you to do that same thing across the country. So then we got a bigger influx of funding from Robert Wood Johnson to do a similar kind of work in California. But when you see the site, you will see that, especially for our geographic communities, that I'll talk about in a minute, you'll see more from California at this point, and that's just because we've been here a little bit longer. And as Tracy talked about, this is Jane Stevens, our founder and editor. And she does live in the region, and lots of people are appreciative of the fact that we kind of say our home base is here in this region. Jane, I'll just tell you a little story about Jane. Jane is a journalist, and she's been a science and health writer for a long time, for 25, 30 years before she ever learned about the ACE study. And she did some interviewing of Dr. Coletti and learned about the ACE study and was like, how come I need to write more about this? Where do I find out more? And she started researching and trying to find where she could find out information. And this was 7, 8 years ago, and she really couldn't find much. So what she did is she's a solutions journalist. So that means that we're not only talking about what the problems are, we're talking about the solutions, and we're writing about the solutions. And there's lots of great stuff. Oh, I was almost on it. Sorry, guys. So she is a solutions journalist, and so she really wanted to write about what was happening already and helping to share with folks to learn from each other. So she started, you can go to the next slide. So she started ACES Too High. Oh, never mind. Hold that story. I want to talk about, it's funny, I always like, anyway. I switched the slides around. So hold that story. I'm going to finish telling you the Jane story in a minute. But first I want to talk about, when we talk about accelerating ACEs science, I want to be sure that we're all on the same page about what we mean by ACEs science. So ACEs science, we talk about the 5 parts of ACEs science, so we can hopefully remember what the 5 parts are. So the original ACE study, folks know about the ACE study, the epidemiological study that was done, started by Dr. Coletti in San Diego, Kaiser, and then picked up with Dr. Anda from the CDC and replicated it. Now over 30 states have replicated the ACE study. So the original ACE study plus other studies, other surveys that have added questions of relevance, because we know that those original 10 ACEs are not all the ACEs that children are experiencing. Or that we as adults had experienced. So there are many additional surveys that have added additional questions, and you'll get to see where some of those are later. So ACE is the epidemiology. Oh, that got a little wonky. The impact on the, that's okay, the impact of toxic stress. So folks know about toxic stress. So what we do is we have a lot of information about toxic stress, the impacts on the body and the brain, especially in young children. So the impacts on the brain and on the body, and then from passing it on from generation to generation, and the newly evolving work of epigenetics. So all of that is sort of encompassed in the work covering toxic stress. And then most importantly, what do we do about it? And that's really resilience research. And so when Tracy's talking about trauma-informed practices and policies, that falls into that resilience research that we know. So we know how to take care of ourselves. We know how relationships are really important in a child's lives. That kind of research is part of resilience. So everything that we have on ACEs Connection on the site, it covers all 5 of those components. Okay, all right, now next slide. Now back to my story. Okay, so ACEs Connection. So back to Jane. So she was like, okay, well, I'm a journalist and I do social journalism, and I actually do. She had been developing online journalism. So she developed a website. So that was kind of easy, a website for the public to inform people about the ACEs movement. And that journalism site is called ACEs 2Pi. And so you can send people there if they want to learn about ACEs, if they want to read about what's happening, kind of from just a traditional website. Then she developed the social networking site, which is ACEs Connection. We're going to spend most of our time talking about ACEs Connection. And that is a place for people to come together in communities, from communities, and join together in communities and with communities of like-minded people. So it's a community of practice. And so I'll get to it, but I'll explain what I mean by communities, because we think big and broad when we talk about communities. So next slide. Okay, so this is the home page of ACEs Connection. This is not live yet. We'll go live in a minute. But on the home page of ACEs Connection, you will see a lot of those blue boxes off on the right. And that's where you're going to get a lot of, there's every one of those boxes, it can lead you down a rabbit hole of a lot of good information. I have definitely gone down that rabbit hole and been lost for hours. Judy's saying yes. Yes, yes. But I want you to know that there's lots of resources on that homepage. So just a few that I've highlighted. So what you can do is learn about, we've started doing our own webinars. So we have webinars that are either kind of internal to our site, how you maneuver the site, how they can take advantage of some of our tools, but also some content related webinars. So we just did one in conjunction with the California, it's 4CA, so the California Campaign to Counter Childhood Adversity, which is a statewide group that really focuses on policy and advocacy. And we did one on policy across the country. So we actually we've done one webinar on different state policies and national policies. And so that is archived on our webinar page. We also did one with pediatric providers and some how to integrate a trauma-informed approach in working with pediatric trainees, so residents in a pediatric setting. So that is some webinars. We have the ACES Connection Resource Center, and then before we go to the resource center, I know I want to look at my audience, so I don't want to look back here too much. But the one place I'm going to point to, and then we're going to go in a little deeper to the resource center. But the ACES Connection how-tos. So I'm going to try to show you some things today, but if you're like me and you go back and you're like, what did she talk about? I know she talked about ACES Connection, but what did she tell me? How was I supposed to find all that? The how-tos are really, if you click on the link below, and it'll show you how to blog, how to write a comment, how to do stuff. So that's your go-to place for remembering how to do stuff, okay? So next slide. Actually, before you go, and then ACES Science 101, that's all those 5 the hands that I talked about, the 5 components. If you want to learn more about all of those parts, and you can find out about the original ACE study, you can get lots of the list of different journal articles that have been published. That's where you go for ACES Science 101 to get that information. And then finally, the Got Your ACE and Resiliency Score. So if you actually want to find the original ACE study or other studies that have surveys that have been developed, Philadelphia's developed one and added several questions. There's lots of links to and lists of resources there, as well as resilience, because we know that as much as we're measuring the bad stuff, the ACEs, we also need to think about looking at resilience, and we all have resilience measures in us. We have resilience pieces that helped us be who we are today. So that those surveys are there as well. Okay, now the next slide. So this is just a list, and I know you can't see it very well. So Carrie, are we ready to try to go live? We're going to try to go live. No, that just went to, so it's down there. Okay, so go to the arrow up top, so or any of the lines. Yep, I just want to go back to the home page. Or you can see where the blue home is. Oh, this is going to be good because Carrie's going to have to figure this out. I'll tell her, and you guys can all watch. Okay, so here we are live on the home site, and scroll down a little bit, Carrie. Yeah, keep going. I want to go down to the resource center. So keep going. Keep going. It's the box. Keep going. We'll tell you. Yeah, right there. So click on. Yeah, it's the resource center, and then the blue. Yeah, click on the blue writing where it says ACE. There we go. So this is the resource center, and I encourage you to read the post that Jane wrote, how the resource center works, because it'll help you really maneuver through. And then scroll down. There. No. Okay. So this is just a list of the different things that you can find. So ACEs for workplaces, ACEs for communities. There's like, it's organized by category. So if you click on any of those, you're going to get a list. You're going to click on it and get a whole bunch of resources for whatever topic you're interested in. Okay, so we won't spend a lot of time there. Let's go back to the slides. Making her work. Back to the slide. And then I'm going to talk about so those are resources that everybody has access to. You don't even you can use ACES Connection as a website, and you don't have to join to access all of those resources. But hopefully I'm going to tell you lots of reasons that you do want to join. But you can visit and access all of those resources as a guest. Yeah, there's some Spanish documents. There's lots of great stuff. Okay, so next slide. How am I doing for time? Okay, it's almost 11. Okay, so I talked about how we like to accelerate ACES science and support communities to do that. And what we mean by communities are two things. They're both we call them interest-based communities. So it's the different sectors. It's first five, so early childhood. It's child welfare. It's foster care. It's communities. It's criminal justice. Yeah. So it's how we work in the field, or what our interest, because we are a grandparent. We have a wonderful site, Parenting with ACES, that is a really very vibrant and active community. So when we say communities, we are interest-based communities, and I'll show you some examples of those. Carrie, we're going to make Carrie work again in a minute. Not yet. But some examples of where you can find all of them. And then we also have, we're also organized by geographic communities. So we have cities, counties, regions, states, countries. Not a world one yet, but we do have several countries that are. I just started an ACES in Zambia community. It's not live yet. We're still building it from the back. It's a wonderful woman, and she found out about us, and she's like, I want one for the country of Zambia, and we're starting a West Africa one as well. So the geographic communities, for the most of them that you'll see, are at the county level at this point. I think in time, and actually Barbara and I were talking a little bit about this, in time, we know that we need to, where we as, I always say this to Tracy, I'm a member, I live in Yolo County is my county, I want to help support it, but where my passion and my connections and my relationships are in my city. You know, that's real, where my kid goes to school, where I go shopping, where I go to church. So we know that we want to support the city level or the neighborhood, depending on what city you're in. If you're in Philadelphia, you probably aren't identifying as Philadelphia, you're identifying as a neighborhood in Philadelphia. So, but we're not there yet. Where we're at, for the most part, we want to support the counties, and we want the counties to have what they need to support their community members. So what we're going to do right now, Carrie, is go back to the site. And anybody who's live can do this as well, or who's online right now can do this as well. I want you to go back to the home page.
Can we get the Wi-Fi feedback?
Oh, it's somewhere. Tracy. Oh, okay. Yep. And scroll all the way up here, so that yeah. So sometimes depending on how your laptop is configured, you'll see the navigator bar across the top, which is a blue bar, and it lists all the different places that I want to show you. Or as Carrie did, there's lines. See those lines down? So Carrie, go to where the lines are on the left, the top left hand. And click on there, and then what we're going to see. So I'm signed in, so you'll see my name. Can you see my name? And then you see where communities. So I want you to scroll down and click on communities down, 6 or 7 down. Okay. And so again, I'm signed in, so this is me. When you all sign in and you are just starting, you won't have any communities. So you see how it says there's 2 boxes, your communities and all communities. You won't see that. You're just going to see a list of all communities. And what you can do is, and Carrie, just kind of scroll down, roll down and see. ACES and Nourishment is a brand new interest-based community we started. I don't know if you know, but Dr. Folletti was an internist, or internist, internal medicine. He started in an obesity clinic. And this covers both food scarcity as well as other issues related to food, how many of us use food as a comfort when there are bad things happening in our lives. So that's a brand new community. Those are some of the interests. So you'll see it's combined interest-based community and geographic-based communities. So we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but here, just kind of scroll and you'll see. So does everybody know how to find that? Under communities, and then you can look and you can join any of these communities. Once you're a member of ACES Connection, what you'll see is where mine is just because you're seeing all of them that I'm already members of, but where it says remove yourself from the group, it should say join this community. And then you can join the community. If you feel like that might be something that is of interest to you in the work that you do or the lives that you lead, Yep, there's a whole bunch. ACES and faith-based communities, justice, and services. So yeah, it's overwhelming. There's a whole bunch, but hopefully, and if there isn't an interest-based community and you feel like there should be, then contact me. We try to not bite off too much more than we can chew. At ACES Connection, we're a pretty small staff, so what we like to do is if there is the ACES and Nourishment, for example, they started a few months ago, and they talked with us and said, we will help make that community vibrant. We will help make sure that there's like activity going on that site. So, okay, so those are our communities. So, Carrie, you can go back to our slide. And actually, let's not go back. What I'm going to do, I may break from my script. Let me look here. You can break. I'm going to break. Yeah. I guess what I want to do, I'm just going to read this. So, a few communities that I was thinking would be of interest, and actually, when Tammy mentioned something, I want to add one more community. So these are interest-based. I'm really focused on interest-based communities right now. So there's an ACES in foster care. There's an ACES in education. Both of those communities, the ACES in education have like 700 people. And for anybody who's kind of in the trauma-informed or resilient schools, Jim Sporletter, he was the star of, he's the principal from Paper Tigers. He's active in that community. Like you'll see him pipe up. And I have Jim Sporletter. Sporletter. Yeah. Porletter. Spor. I think that's it. Yeah, he's the principal from the Paper Tigers movie. And I will say that Dr. Folletti posts on the main site. He will comment oftentimes on the main site. So what we try to do is say, this is where everybody comes. Maybe they don't post, but they read. Oh, and for behavioral health folks, first name, Gabor Mate. He is on our site. He's commented a few times. Yeah, he's I'm kind of a fan of his, so it's pretty impressive. Yeah. So, but okay, back to, so ACES in foster care, ACES in education, ACES in pediatrics. There's a really active community there. A lot, as I'm sure you guys know, a lot going on in pediatrics. Parenting with ACES is a group that I highly recommend. Let's see. But for parents, I love that site. I visit that site often and get ideas as a parent of somebody who has ACES and am raising a kid. Parenting with ACES also is for those maybe that are foster families or are adoptive families that are parenting a child with ACES. It kind of captures, and then it's for professionals that are working in the parenting field. So it's kind of a catch-all of everything. And early childhood. There are a couple of different communities that are of interest with early childhood. I'm going to take a little break. Do people know, are there any people that are active in the Bridge community? It's a brand new initiative that was funded. Okay, well, the Bridge communities, I think a couple of the counties in this catchment are part of the Bridge community. Different counties buy into, it's a brand new initiative that just came out this year with funding from DSS, actually. And they are, part of it will be, they will be training child care providers on trauma-informed practices and policies. So, and there's a lot of linkages between, I mean, one of the things that we try to do at the California level is there's statewide initiatives, there's strategies, there's the Bridge community, there's 4CA, there's these different statewide things, and what we try to do is at the county level help you understand and be connected with what it is you need. So one of the communities that we have on here that's brand new is the California Bridge community. And so for child care providers that are interested, it's a good place to go. So, okay, Carrie, now I want you to, yep, there's California Bridge community, but can you just go up one to California ACEs Action? Do you see that right there? Click on that. I want to show you the California ACEs Action. So this is this is the state level group. And what we try to do is post things. There's a lot of policy and legislation that is moving its way through. We, May 22nd was deemed Trauma-Informed Awareness Day from the California. Joaquin Rongulat passed that legislation. I don't think it's passed I know it's passed the House. It may still be working its way up, but everybody thinks it will pass. So we post things like policy and legislation that's coming up. There's a lot on data. This is some mapping that is Oh, that's right. Tammy, you mentioned ACE trauma from natural disasters. We have a community called the acronym is ITRC. It's International Transformational Resilience Coalition or Commission, and they focus on the psychosocial aspects of disaster and the aftermaths of disaster and post-resilience growth. And they really focus a lot on, I mean, there's so many intersections and overlaps between what you all are doing, what we all are doing to build resilience in communities. And the more, and we've seen this from Ventura County and Sonoma County, the more you can, because of the fires that were there, the more you can build resilience and make sure that the community is resilient in the face of disasters, then the more people and organizations and communities will thrive after disasters. So I would look at the ITRC, or International Transformation. That's one of the communities that you can find. So the California ACEs Action site is a place to go to look for kind of what's happening at the state level. One thing I wanted to point out, if you see the little map, the California map over there, and then it says, click here for a list of California ACEs communities. So that's a place to go and see where there are ACEs connection communities. Now, we don't know everything that's happening out in communities, but any county that creates their ACEs connection site, this is where you would find it. This is where it's listed. And I mean, I'll tell you that El Dorado is listed on this because El Dorado has a great and active ACEs connection community. And hopefully today we'll get some others. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I want to just go to one more, or actually let's just go to the slides, because what Barb and I did, and it's not there's not a lot on it, but I do want to visit it. Never mind, Carrie. Take me to, so I'm going to give you a little challenge. Take me to go back to communities, and I want you to find the Strategies Sierra Region community. So we're back to ACEs. Go back to the home page and then go to communities. Oh, you're in communities. So just scroll down and find, there's a way that I always do it. It's Control F and you can do the search. Control F. Try Control F on your computer. It's so funny when you do it, like automatically, like my F says, it's telling you to find. Yeah, so type in Sierra, and it should come out. It will do it. It's kind of a shortcut way to look for whatever you're looking for. There you go. So this is a brand new site that we just created. You guys, that's what Barbara sent you an invitation to do, to join. It's not very populated because we just got it started, but now it's available for you. So what this community will do is what you can do is you can share resources that you want each other to know about. You can write questions, you can comment on different things, you can share calendar events. So what I want to do is just do a little bit of movement around here, okay? Carrie, you ready? So I just last night I thought I should populate this a little bit. So Nadine Burke-Harris, folks know Nadine Burke-Harris and her TED Talk, it's like 3.7 million views or something crazy like that. So you can click on there, there's the link to it. So it's right here if you want to show that to people or find it. And then there's just, Tracy was mentioning paper tigers and resilience. There's a great kind of ACEs primer, we call it. It's a 5-minute about ACEs. That's the next. So the way you get to Nadine's is you click on that green. That's the blog post. So you just click on it and then it'll open it up. But then, so I posted a few things, Barb. We're gonna populate some more. Your last, was it your last webinar you did? Yes. The last webinar is there. So Barb, scroll up. Scroll up. This is what I want. So just as I showed you ACES Connection, the home site, think of this as kind of a mini ACES Connection for your community. So the resources that are here, the calendar. So if you see, okay, go to, where's the little line? There you go. This one? Yeah, scroll up a little bit more. Yeah, there, find the line. And then go to, so do you see where it says calendar right there? Yeah, click on calendar. And I put a few things in there that you might be interested in. Today's event is in there. You'll see it by month. And then there's a National ACES conference that's happening in October. That's in there. I don't know if I put anything else, but that's something, Barb, that as there are events. But you guys, if you are having an event, let's say, I don't know, Amador County decides you're going to show paper tigers or resilience, and you want your cohort to know about what you're doing, then you can enter that in the calendar, and I'll show you how to do that. We'll show the magic green button. It all happens with the green button. So, and then there's the list of things that are posted. Okay? And then, Barb, Carrie, just scroll back up, and go back to the line, and I just want to show one other thing, and then I think we're about, am I about where we're going to take a break? Okay. So, do you see the thing? It says ask the community. Do you see that? Down on the Carrie scroll. Yeah, ask the community. So click on that. And there aren't any right now because we haven't put it. But if you want to ask your neighbors, your county, this group, let's say that you are trying to do a screening of paper tigers, and you're thinking about maybe it might be good to have a panel afterwards. Has anybody else done a paper tigers panel or a screening and done a panel? If so, who did you have? And what was it like? Did you have questions afterwards? That kind of thing. That's what the Ask the Community is for. And Tracy, have you used the Ask the Community before?
Tracy. Yes, sorry. Yeah, asking the community feature is a great way to not only get ideas, like you were saying, Gail, who might be good locally to serve on the panel, who's available on this date, but also, we have almost 300 members on our Yolo site. I don't know all of them, so sometimes, tell us why you joined the Resilient Yolo site? What's your interest? What have you learned? What have you,
Yeah.
just see what responses you get.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now is do a little, I just want folks to, I want you to know how to join, if you haven't yet. We can do it one of two ways, and this is gonna be kind of a discussion. Actually, before we go there, I wanna explain. So ACES Connection is your place, that's the home site, that's where everything comes. And we post daily, we post 3 times a day, new stories that come through. So there was an awesome article from the Atlantic a couple of days ago. We posted Atlantic, I don't know if folks saw it. It's just an amazing article about ACEs and the effects of toxic stress in an urban setting. Really good article. Like, we post stuff from New York Times, from Sacramento Bee, I mean, anywhere we find it that has anything to do with, again, those 5 parts of basic science. So you're going to get, depending on how you set your notifications, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute, you'll either get bombarded with a whole bunch of emails, or, and you might go, it's too much. So that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that you don't get too much, but you get what you want. So that's ACES Connection, the home site. And then there's the strategies community, the Sierra strategies community that we just started. So that's where you will share resources and stuff amongst yourselves. And then after we take a break, we'll go into Yolo County and we'll show you what a county level community looks like and what you can do at the county level. Okay? But first I want to show you how to understand what you're getting when you sign up for ACES Connection. So Carrie, can you go to under my name? You have to be signed in, which means you have to be a member. Once you're a member, then you're signed in. Then what I'm going to do is show you how to change your notifications. That's what it says. Okay, so then go down to notifications. Click on that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then scroll up a little bit. Just go down the page a little bit. So right here, do you see where it says settings and then ACES Connection homepage and then community sites? So those are each of those are important, especially the last 2. If you right here, you can either get email notifications anytime you tell them that you want a notification. You're either going to get it via email or what's called an on-site alert. So I don't know if you see that 15 with the circle there by my name. That means I've gotten 15 notifications. That's because online notifications. So if you don't want to get any emails, then what you want to do is click on site alerts. So, but that means you're not going to know what new has been posted unless you're signed in and you go to the site and you look at what those red things are. And if, like, I don't do that. I like to get emails. That's my personal preference. I like to get emails because I like to know when something has been posted. But that's your preference. And then scroll down where it says miscellaneous and it suspends all email notifications. If you do check the email box, but let's say you want to go on vacation or something and you just don't want it for a while, you can check that box and you won't come back to hundreds. Okay, so that's a little something to know. Just remember to uncheck it after you're back. Okay, so now scroll back up, Carrie, and you go to the next one. And so ACES Connection homepage. So if you've joined, we changed the way, so this is just our site. We love our site, our platform, but there are some challenges with it, and this is one of the challenges, so I like to put it out there. So we can either, we kind of have from the back end, we can set it so that you get way too many emails than anybody wants, or we can set it so you don't get any emails. And so for a long time, we had it set where you got too many emails because there weren't that many emails because we were pretty small. Now we're over 23,000 people. And we don't just post, people post. People, if you're visiting, people are posting every day, sharing from all over the country and more all over the world. So we decided that we needed to change it so that you don't get any emails from the site, even though we're posting several times a day. So if that's fine with you, because what you are going to get, which is a little confusing, there's what we call the daily digest, and that is something we do. I see nods. What we do is we compile like a few of the, I don't know, the best or the ones that we think would be of interest, and we send that out once a day, work days, so 5 days a week. Well, except Wednesday. I'm going to talk about Wednesday for a second, but we send that out, and you get that, and that's mailed out from what we call MailChimp, so that's sent to you. So it isn't part of all of these posts. So if that's all you want, because you will just want to read once a day on what's going on, then what you want to do is you want to not get any emails from ACES Connection. But if really the emails, like like a lot of people like to read all of these, because you may, I don't know when that Atlantic article was posted, but if it didn't make it into the Daily Digest, then you're going to miss it, and you're not going to, you might miss some really good posts that are of interest to you. So, but you see all those check boxes that are checked over there on the right-hand side. So you can maneuver it, and you can like find that sweet spot of like, oh, too many emails or not enough. This is how you change that. And just know that for the home page, that's where you're going to change it under ACES Connection homepage. That is what you'll change up those daily emails that come through. Okay, and scroll on. You don't have to, Carrie, but go all the way down, because there's lots of different things that you might want or not want, like new members will join. Okay, so scroll back up, Carrie. And then I want to go to the sites. So the next box over, which is community site notifications. Okay, click on that, and then scroll down. And let's say you joined. Let's say you're in childcare and you joined the. Oh, actually, you guys are first 5. I forgot to say, but there's a trauma informed first 5 association, trauma informed association or something. But there's a first 5 group. That's on our site. So let's say you want to join that community, because that's of interest to you, and you want to join your geographic community, El Dorado, and you want to join ACES in Education. So those would be 3 communities. So scroll back up for a second, Karen. So you probably want to know, especially in your geographic community, you want to know the new posts that are happening, and you want to know who's commenting on a post that was written, or who's asking a question, those sorts of things. So you probably want to check more boxes. But you see the little caret, so ACES in Nutrition, or ACES in Nourishment, you see that caret, click on that, and that will give you a list of all the communities that you're a member of. And then you can really, yeah, don't look at mine. But that's me. I need to be knowledgeable. But you know what? Even so, I do get a lot of emails, but I don't get overwhelming emails. I get only the emails I want, because I've maneuvered it. So anyway, that was kind of long and detailed, but I think that, like, I just want you to definitely go home having this in mind. So when you join, and if you are like, hey, I want to get emails and I'm not getting them, or hey, I'm getting way too many emails, this is how you change it. Okay, so, and I forgot the rest of that. So you get a daily digest, which comes every weekday, and then on Wednesdays, it's called the weekly roundup. And the Wednesday one is sort of the best of the week. And so if all you want, if all you can handle right now from ACES Connection is once a week, then you want to unsubscribe any day except for Wednesday. And then you won't get anything except for that Wednesday one. And they look the same, but one's called the Daily Digest and one's a weekly roundup. Okay? All right, so Tracy's we're gonna do a little quiz. Still try it?
Let's try it.
So she's our quiz master.
I should stand in the magic circle. So if folks have access to the site, we thought it'd be really fun to have you look for some things, kind of an Easter egg hunt, right? But if you don't have access to the site, using powers of logic, you might have some ideas or some answers. Or write these down, and when you go and play around on the site, see if you can find these answers on the site when you're playing with it. So, quiz time.
Just 5 minutes.
Yeah. Where would you go on the site to find a webinar that's happening in June? Carrie, I think you should be finding the answers in real time as the question comes out. So where would you find a webinar that's happening in June? Look at you.
I didn't even know this. So are you on the page? Yep, on the page, yes.
There's a calendar. There was also that box that said was just ACES Connection webinars.
Yes, and so it's, she has a default into show there. You can also get it where it shows for the month, and then you can see on the home page, there's tons of webinars. Is what we try to post in all over the country, all different types of sectors and interest spaces. And
all right, I love the fact that this is Carrie's quiz. I'm going to play this now. Carrie's quiz question 2. You have the hardest job in the whole world. You're doing so well. Really, thank you. Okay. Find the number of members in the ACES in foster care community. How many members does the ACES in foster care community have? Found the community? We know Gail must be a member of it because Maryland is a member of everything. There's 236 members. Woohoo! 236 members. Excellent. That was very fast. Good job. All right. Okay. This is a question that relates to some content that we had earlier in the morning. So we'll see how well people remember. Where would you find the 5 pieces of the ACES science that Gail described on her PowerPoint slides earlier? Where would you find that on the site? The 5 pieces of parts of the ACES science. Where do you guys think?
Home and then from there.
Yep.
From the home page. And scroll down.
And we're in the
Numbers.
Yep.
ACES Science 101. That's going to be on to our right. The column down below. It's coming. There's the word.
Yeah,
There it is.
there it is.
Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. All right, one more last question. Find a recent Ask the Community topic. Where do we find an Ask the Community topic?
So ask the community is where you want to ask. And have discussions. Yep. Yes. Yep. So go on, and then ask the community. Yep. Then you click on it, and you'll see all of them. Awesome.
There it is. Cool. So the thing about ACES Connection, about this site in particular, it's amazing to me how much information is on here and how valuable all that information is. You just have to spend some time, on it, playing with it, connecting with people on it. It's an amazing resource. So I hope you enjoy playing with it, and I think we have another quiz coming up later. But let's take a little break, a little movement break. We are at 11:33. Let's come back at 11:45. 11:45. Yeah, so that's about 12 minutes. Take a stretch, grab something, stay hydrated, grab a little snack, and we'll be back at 11:45 to finish up. Good job. Thank you. Yeah. Good job.
Excellent. Yes. So it's a bit, but my concern on the second part is the Tracy.
Yes.
You to talk.
Okay.
And I think Carrie. And as you're talking, so we talk about, we need to show folks what we don't have to show.
Okay.
Right. And then I want to be sure we get it to the regional communities, the areas, and the tracker.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Judy. Hi.
Watch your step there.
That's a little. Yeah, it was funny because Barb was Well, it's in August, right? So you're on vacation. I'm on vacation.
Yeah, so it's a lot more.
Our program this morning. So, thank you. The only way I know that Gail Kennedy to stop talking is to grab a microphone and just. My dear friend Gail. So we are gonna look at the resilient goals.
So I'm gonna go sit down. So Tracy's gonna talk and I'm gonna sit and
I'm gonna talk. Gail's gonna sit with Carrie. She's had the hardest job of the day so far. Needed that break more than anybody else. And we're gonna look at the resilient Yolo site community site on CASA's connection. We'll get that up in a minute. Not that I'm competitive, but the resilient Yolo site has almost 300 members now. The only geographic community that has more members is Philadelphia. And that hasn't always been true, but we kind of, like, every time we get more members than they do, then they'll get more members. So it's been a back and forth between coasts for a couple of years now. There we go, 290. Yay.
So I have a question during the break, and just so you know that anybody that you can see anything that we're showing you on any community, you should be able to, unless there's a glitch that I can fix right now. You should be able to see anything as a guest, and then when you join, to join that way, you can be discussing things. You can write a comment, you can upload information, a calendar event, or resources. Okay.
Cool. So this is our resilient Yolo site. As I said, we're a very unfunded collaborative. Pretty much all the time that folks who are integrally involved in our community is in kind time from agencies. So for example, Yolo County CASA, my board is incredibly supportive of the work that we're doing. The leadership role that we've taken in bringing this to our community, so they're happy to have me spend some of my time organizing these meetings and and doing other activities in Yolo County. Not too much, but some. So we were going to look at the Kids Data widget, right?
You know what, let's talk
Switch
about
it.
tracker first.
Okay, community tracker. So on my right here, as I'm looking at the screen, you see the Yolo County ACN community tracker, and we're going to click on that widget. Am I using proper terminology? And it's going to pull up a mapping tool. And this is something, Gail, that ACES Connection can put on any community's page, correct? It doesn't necessarily come automatically, but you can get this widget, and then folks on your page can go. And here you learn about the ACES Connection tracker, and that this one is specific to our Yolo County Resilient Yolo site. And we have two maps that you can look at. We have the ACES science presentations. So whenever anyone from our collaborative goes out and does a presentation in the community, and we've had a wide variety of different groups and different locations ask for, typically it's ACES 101. We're now getting to the point where agencies in particular are saying, okay, how do we operationalize this? How do we take this knowledge? We understand why it's important. How do we make this a part of what we do every single day? And so we have some ability to train on that, but and of course, Strategies 2.0 is also a big help with that. But we're developing some of those materials locally so that we can go to like our mutual housing association. Tomorrow I'm doing an ACES 101 for one of our local homeless shelters. I'm actually really excited because